Hi, sitting here today with Ruta Baran, top producing agent with the At Properties Christie's International St. Charles office. How you doing today?
Great, how are you?
Good, thanks for sitting down with me today and chatting.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody how long you've been in the business and maybe why you got into the business.
So this is actually, real estate is my second career. First 18 years I worked for Citigroup, was in a relationship management sales type role. Ended up managing a region of agents and had wonderful experiences traveling with globally with clients. Some things changed in my life. Started a family and decided to get in the real estate business, and now I've been a realtor for 13 years.
Okay.
And have enjoyed every moment of it.
Right, so that was 2010-ish, right? So that was kind of an interesting time, right, to get into the market because that's post 08, 09, right? So how did you kind of get going and like start building your business? Do you remember that far back that you can?
Sure. You know, at that time, my husband and I had invested in a few properties, and it was really not a great time to be selling properties because when I got in the market, that's when the market really tanked. But it was a great time to get in the business because I sure learned how to work with short sales because that was very prevalent at that time.
Right.
But, you know, it was, everybody said, why are you getting in the business at this time? It was a great time to get in. And I had the opportunity to work on the team. So that's how I kind of learned the industry when that team did.
Right, and I think much like what happened then is kind of happening now, right? Where a lot of people exited the business in after 08, 09, especially on the mortgage side too. So I feel like the cream kind of rose to the top. So if you were left standing after that period of time, I think you were truly the best in the business. And I think that's what's going to happen, you know, now too in 2024.
Absolutely. I think there are many agents that are leaving the industry right now. The past 3 years were not the typical market, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah, and I think the smart ones realize that, right? So did you decide real early on that you wanted to be a specialist like in the Fox Valley and kind of have that be your focus?
You know, that's how I started. I really was primarily in the St. Charles and the Campton Hills area, but over time I have expanded. You know, I've worked as far out as downtown Chicago, or as far north as Gurnee, or even far south as Plainfield and further. But I truly enjoy working in the Fox Valley area of St. Charles, Geneva, Batavia.
Now, do you feel like that's where the majority of the clients are getting referred from?
Yes, I think it's a combination of things. I think, being in the business for so many years, I've been honored that clients have referred me. So yes, I would say primarily they are coming more locally. Right,
and I have had the pleasure of working with you now for a while, and I do have to say that your clients absolutely love you. And the conversion rate, I feel it's quite astounding, and it doesn't work this way all the time, honestly. So when you send a client to me to be pre-approved, I feel like that client within a week or two is usually going under contract on something. And even in this past year where it's been a quote unquote seller's market, I feel like that's even more of an amazing feat. So I commend you on that for sure.
Thank you.
I think you guys do a great job with that. So what do you think is kind of the main reason why you think you kind of have a high conversion rate? Because I would have to say that working with you for a while, I would say that's probably like your superpower, is being able to convert, right? And not every real estate agent has that kind of quality. So
I don't know if there's a superpower necessarily. I think it's a lot of hard work sometimes, but I mentioned before I worked for Citigroup and I was in a relationship management type role, and I think that my experience there has rolled over into this industry. I think and thank you for saying that, that's very, very nice. I like to surround myself with good people, and as a partner, you really help me be successful too.
Yeah, I appreciate
that. But I think that it's important to be caring, honest, empathetic, and show love. I mean, At Properties' motto is love. There have been many times where somebody may have gone into a home, for example, and said, I think I want to buy this house, and I'd be like, I think we need to slow down. it might have been an easy way for me to get a sale, but I knew it wasn't the right house for them. And I would say, you know what, I think that we should keep looking, and this is why. And I think that that trust that's built at the beginning is super important, and I think that's why these relationships have lasted over time. I was thinking a little bit this morning about some things, and I remembered this is kind of an off story, but I had gone on a cruise with my family about 10 years ago, and my kids were still pretty young. And as you get on board, you're listening to the announcements, and the cruise director always gets on, right? And they start, their spiel. And they start talking, and you hear from these people. His name is Schwartz. And the first day he gets on, and he does his announcement, and he says, at the very end, "Love you." And my family and I, we looked at each other. Like,
did you just say that? Yeah.
That's kind of odd. But, throughout the week, it was interesting to see the transformation in everybody on the cruise. So the next day he said it again, and a few people were like, "Love you too." And, towards the end of the week, everybody on the ship, when he would finish off, he would say, "Love you," and we'd say, "Love you too," and he'd say, "Love you more." And everybody, engaged in this, and I thought, what?
Wow.
He really made a difference on that cruise, and I still follow him this day on social media. And I thought, what? He made that experience so wonderful that I thought, what can I do to make sure that my clients love me too at the end? So that was one of my aha moments.
Yeah, that's a great story, and I feel like now, especially with as kind of intense, for lack of a better word, as the market's been over the last year to 2 years, having that mindset, I'm sure, goes a long way, and your clients feel that from you. So if you're calm, they're calm. If you're kind, they're kind, right? You'd like to think that people kind of follow, in that footsteps.
Yeah, and I think that it's all about relationship and communication. These are clients, we spend a lot of time together, and it's the most important purchase, the biggest purchase of their life many times. So I think building that rapport and that trust, I think, is super important. Even by, going into a home at the first time, and, I tell clients right off the bat, I said, you might be looking to see if the flow works. I said, I'm looking to see, is it a good house for you? I'm looking to see, are there cracks in the ceiling, are the other windows good? Because I want to make sure that they're buying the right house, and it's a solid investment.
Well, that's great. So with that said, what are you telling buyers now about the market, in terms of if someone asks you, Ruta, should I wait? Is now a good time? What are you saying to those people?
I think that it's always a good time to either buy or sell in real estate. Right now, we have very limited inventory, so that does lengthen the time. We've been faced with multiple offers for a few years now, and over time we've learned some tricks on how to kind of be at the top of the stack there to win some of these bids. But I just tell people, look, let's be patient. Let's make sure we find the right house, and just making sure you're checking the MLS every day and looking for other options for them. And so I think it's a great time to buy. I think that right now is an excellent time to sell. I mean, our inventory is still so limited. I listed 2 houses last week. They immediately went under contract with multiple offers. I think that there is such a pent-up demand. I'm thinking that if the rates continue where they are, or perhaps even lower a little bit, I think the spring market is going to be super hot. I think that the people who have wanted to move but couldn't move because there was nothing to buy, I think that backlog is going to start opening up. So I think it's a great time to even list now, even in December, to get a head start on some of the competition that I think that's going to be coming on the market in January and February.
I love that answer, and I feel like if that were the narrative in our industry, that would go a long way, because there are people that are pumping the brakes, and those of us who know what we're doing and know probably what's coming, is now is the time to jump in, whether you're a buyer or a seller, because when rates continue to drop, all of a sudden all these people are going to flood the market, and then there's going to be a frenzy, and then that house that you thought was overpriced 2 months ago is now going to be even more.
That's
right? So good. I love that, and I hope you're right. So we talked a little bit about what separates you from the competition. What would you say is your main kind of elevator pitch when you're talking to people and they say, all right, well, I'm interviewing this person and I've interviewed one other person and I'm going to be interviewing somebody else for to list my house. How do you, when you go into that listing appointment, how do you separate yourself?
I think it all boils down to relationship and the trust factor. I try to go in and empathize with what they're going through. I try to listen to what they're saying, so I make sure that I'm meeting their needs. I'm fortunate to have a team as well, and I think that's been a benefit because there are times where sometimes things get doubled up a little bit, and I have a great team that's there to support me, so we always are available. I tell my clients I am available 7 days a week, and I'm not kidding. I mean, if you text me or call me, I will return a call.
Right.
And if I can't, respond right away, I'll text and say, hey, can I get back to you later this afternoon? And I think, that just the promise of taking care of them to make sure that they're heard and their needs are taken care of, I think goes a long way.
Right. So you mentioned your team. To that point, you have the benefit of working with family, mostly family. So did you make a conscious decision when you were getting started and you thought about building a team to do it with family?
Honestly, no. I'll be honest. So my team started with my husband, myself, and Katie Reedy. And over time, my kids are they're young adults, so they're younger and they're still learning and starting out their life. And I think that they grew up, in the back seat, listening to my conversations, maybe even subconsciously. And I think they've actually learned a lot by listening. So I think it just was a natural progression. As they got a little older, they thought, why don't I try this too? So it's been interesting training them.
Right.
It's been fun to watch them grow. It's hard sometimes as a parent because I want to just do it for them.
Right.
I have to hold back.
Right.
And
You know
sure
too much. Yeah.
But no, it's been a great experience.
That's good. That's good.
And Katie is almost like a member of our family.
Yeah, she's been great to work with as well. So let's talk a little bit about social media. How do you incorporate social media into your business, and how important do you think it is right now?
I think social media is what it's all about. Let's face it. I mean, everybody's shopping online, even before they select an agent. I think it's important to secure some new business. I think it's good to stay in touch with clients from the past. I try to do that in separate ways as well, but I'm always surprised when somebody I may not have spoken to for a while, and they say, I've been following you on social media, and gosh, I really love seeing some of those luxury homes that you've sold. It's fun to see. So I think it's super important, and I think it's only going to continue to be important. We're all going to have to think of ways to, stay in front of social media and the changing demands.
Well, yeah, and I feel like now it's such an essential part of the business for both of us because people are not only looking for homes, but they're looking for you. And I feel like people getting to know you on social media is a big part of it too, rather than just knowing that you're a successful real estate agent that can close the deal, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. So what would you say is your most fun real estate story in your career?
I have a few. Probably the funniest thing that ever happened is kind of early in the career. I was staging a home, a rather large home, and I used some of my personal things to stage the home. I now use and work with a professional stager. That's always part of our services to give a complimentary consultation. But in this case, it was getting to be a little dark. It was dusk. And I had pulled up in front of this home with a trailer, backed it up. The sellers had already moved out, and the neighbors apparently were watching, and I didn't know this, and they thought the house was being robbed. So they called the police. So all of a sudden, a few police cars pull up, and I had to explain myself.
Right.
I was not a thief, and show them my business card. And they were like, okay. I think they could tell I was not a criminal.
Right.
But I won't forget that one.
Right.
That was a little startling.
Yeah, I feel like for those kind of instances, you should have like a real estate ID that you can show. Or I guess your business card is good enough, right? Yeah. And then what would your last meal on earth be?
Oh gosh. I think I would have to pick from a few. I don't think there's one. I am a huge sushi
It's
fan.
whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I am a huge sushi fan, so that would be one. I have some Lithuanian heritage, so there are several dishes that I definitely are the comfort food. Lithuanian food is very starchy and bacon and beef.
So
and
throw
sour cream
your favorite Lithuanian meal out, because I wouldn't know where to start there.
Probably it's something called koldūnai. They're like almost like little raviolis that, like I said, you put some fried bacon and sour cream on it. It's fantastic.
It's almost like a pierogi, almost.
Kind of,
Yeah.
with a little bit of a different flair. So it's something that we eat all the time. And gosh, the last thing would be Maryland steamed crabs. I was born in Maryland, so living in the Midwest, unfortunately, we don't get that very often. And
No,
it's
you
not
don't.
as good
Yeah.
fresh. So, but that would be probably number 3.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you for your partnership.